Hey guys, we got some exciting news for you. If you're listening to this, we know that you're committed to upping your game in the arena. And we're teaming up with the Rodeo Now app to help you do just that. The Rodeo Now app allows you to record, upload, and catalog your rides and runs, review your performances in slow motion, and our favorite feature, if you're not familiar with your stock draw, you can search your animal by name to get all the intel you need to make your next ride a winning one. Join the rodeo revolution today and download the Rodeo Now app for free. It's available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
With the Great Lakes.
Gotcha.
That's what.
Evansville.
If he doesn't like the judging at Evansville, just tell him you just go ahead and smack the one around because it's my dad.
Is that your dad?
Yeah.
Good. I'm gonna go all night. I'll be sure to slap him. You need to tell me what he looks like so that I make sure to slap the right judge.
He's got a lot of gray hair.
A lot of
And he
gray
probably
hair.
looks just like
And looks
Tyler.
just like
Thank
me,
God
yeah.
I'm not standing up there. I get slapped.
That does not narrow it down. A lot of gray hair. They all have gray hair.
Yeah, but remember we met as siblings in Las
Look pretty
Vegas.
much alike.
I was about to say it can't be hard.
I don't think those apples fell very far.
No. Yeah, your brother's almost identical to you.
Yeah.
Which makes me believe that me and Richie are not from the same blood.
That's funny.
You guys should do a
Yes.
DNA test for your birthday or
I'm
for
too
one of your
scared.
birthdays or something.
Yeah, how devastating that would be for Richmond to find out that he was
You
adopted.
would cry.
Yeah, that's funny. I love that you just automatically went. It's be devastating for him. Not devastating for you. You're definitely not adopted. It's definitely Richmond that's adopted.
Dude, I look identical
You
to my
guys,
dad.
you guys don't look a ton alike, but like you don't look too far. It's not like you look different, I guess.
No,
Like
that's funny.
Yeah, in the sense that we're
you could
both
easily
white.
pass as cousins. And
I don't think that my kids will ever have that trouble.
Bro.
No.
Bro. Like I've said a million times, you have stamped the ever living shit out of those kids. There's no
all-
denying that.
I was
this one's
up
a
at
baby
the
Logan. This one's
yeah.
a baby Logan.
I was up at the high school the other day, and the superintendent comes in there, and the assistant coach introduces me or whatever. She's like, "Oh yeah, I know. You've got the 4 kids that look exactly like you, all little blonde-headed kids." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's them." She's like, "Mm-hmm." Yeah. So anyway,
That's
all
funny, dude.
yeah, they're all carbon copies for sure.
Colby's already got a
Carbon
reputation.
copies.
Yeah, I wish they all had the same personalities because that's getting tough to deal with.
Oh, I bet,
But-
dude.
Anyway, they're done with school for the year. We are finished.
Wow.
So today's technically the last day of school, but for the last day of school, they go and tour the kindergarten classroom. And since how Cannon's not going to official kindergarten, we thought it would probably be better if we just put the X-nay on that so that he
Yeah.
doesn't get as much of the FOMO. So
Mhm.
anyway,
you
so
guys
they're
homeschooling?
done. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're gonna keep on that train. There's been a couple times
Oh, I know
where,
you guys have been
there's-
questioning for a bit.
yeah, well, we were like, I don't know that this is the right thing to do or not, but we are. We're moving forward as of right now. Moving forward to with homeschooling. Next year it'll be him and sis. Lacey and Conley finished up their first year of homeschool yesterday, and Lacey collapsed on the kitchen table and started crying as soon as she graded Conley's last exam. And Conley was like, "My mom is crazy." And,
Psychopath.
but they are both they're both it's been a year, man, of learning,
Dude,
and not just
I can
schoolwork,
imagine.
trying to navigate emotions and motivation and discipline and memorization. And it's just been, anyway, there's certain things, like, I don't want to get super savvy here, but there are certain things that just make you like freaking proud, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And watching Lacey struggle through this year, and I know how badly she's wanted to quit so many times, and she's like pushed through because she really does feel called that this is what she's supposed to do. And like, to see her finish,
Cool.
I'm like, man, she's a freaking rock star, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been really cool to see. It's a cool journey. So next year's a whole different battle though, because we'll have 2 of them. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
The little
We
ones
should
are easy though.
document
yeah,
this.
I think it should be. Anyway,
I think
it
we
should
should have a
yeah,
reality
should-
show. That's what we should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't no joke. That ain't no joke. We're
Oh, that's
thinking
awesome.
about
Good
starting
for her.
a co-op or something like that with some
Mhm.
rodeo families around us, and doing a co-op like
Oh
one
yeah,
day a
because you
week
guys
where they
you
all get
guys got
together
some.
and
That
Yeah,
You
would
could
there's
have
make
some
like
it
rodeo.
little
way
play dates
better.
or something at that arena. That's
Yeah, and
by
that's what
you.
we were thinking is we talked to the owner of where we go to the junior rodeo, and there's a huge playground there and a covered arena, and they have a restaurant that stays open during the week, and like it would just be it's a possibility. So anyway, they're
Cool.
gonna think about maybe
That'd be
trying to
really
do something
cool.
with the rodeo families and get together and let the kids play so they don't end up super homeschool.
Yeah,
Super weird.
we didn't join the co-op this year,
I
but we're
immediately thought of
going to.
Waterboy. I don't know why. Sorry, Paul. Go
Right.
ahead.
What were you saying, Paul? You
I was just
you
gonna
guys
say
are doing a
we
co-op?
didn't join the co-op this year, but we're planning on it in the fall.
Yeah.
For our local one.
And so Heather's homeschooling Cannon as well.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh
The
yeah.
moms are killing it, dude. That's a hard
They
deal. You
are.
have to wear. That's so many hats to wear.
That's
Like
a lot of
to
hats.
be a teacher and to be the mom and like, dude, all of the things. Like you're doing everything at
Mhm.
once. So
Yeah.
it's a bummer that the trust in the public school system just isn't there. And it's not just for I don't know why you guys chose to homeschool, but for me, that's what I don't feel good
That's a
about.
big part of it.
Yeah, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
A
feel
really
good about
big
putting my
part of
kids
it.
in something like that. So it's a bummer that it's like that because our parents got a break from us at some point in the day, and I feel like
Mhm.
that's necessary. Got to have that, and I
Well,
think
that's
I'd
the other
probably
part too, is that break, quote unquote, is in my opinion like way too large. Like the
like 8
fact that
hours.
kids go to school for 8 hours a day, and like for me where we lived, I had an hour and a half bus ride both
Holy
directions because I
smokes!
was the first one on, the last one off. So I mean, I was gone from the house, dang near 10, 11 hours a day, and then you get maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours with your parents at home after you. Well, and that time's filled up with dinner and homework and all the other stuff, and it's like
Activities, not to mention games or
yeah, football
practices or
games,
any of
whatever.
that
Like
kind of stuff.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
And
mean, like
also, like, how much are you really working throughout the school day? With all the
They're
you're
breaks
not.
not.
and
I mean,
it's 4 hours
I don't know.
probably.
Yeah, I don't know about Paul, but like this year in first grade, Conley completed the majority of her schoolwork 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, in around about 2 hours.
Yeah.
I
So
think Canon does anywhere from half hour to an hour and 15 minutes probably.
yep,
Like I don't
yep,
know the exact times because Heather's usually doing it while I'm working. But it's around about an hour a day
yep,
Get
that
so
he
much
has to
more done,
actually
man.
sit and focus and do things. The rest of the time, he's still learning. Like we're going on walks and he's doing scavenger hunts and he's learning about animals and in his interests. Like he gets to learn about
yep,
his
How it
interests
should be.
yep.
on the rest of the day, which I think is the other
Well,
benefit
and an
is
hour and a
he's
half
not
or 2
pigeonholed.
hours is like max limit for a kid that age. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
hell, that's
Like
yeah,
he's
max
got to
limit for
go.
me
He's got to run.
sometimes.
He's got to move. He's got
Me
energy to burn
too.
off. If he was
Me
in
too.
public school right now, like he'd be in trouble. He'd be sitting in the hallway.
No,
Like he would be.
he would
He,
all of those things, and he'd be diagnosed with a
Yeah, I'd be
disorder.
medicated.
He
yeah,
would be
big time meditate.
diagnosed with a disorder because he can't sit still for 8 hours. Like, get out
Yep.
of here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What kid should have to sit still for 8 hours? The recesses just get shorter and shorter. I remember like I had a couple stints in public school, and we had like a morning recess that was 30 minutes. We had an hour at lunch. We had an afternoon recess. I mean, I think the kids in a lot of public schools today, they're getting like a 30-minute lunch window, and they might get a 15-minute recess, but that's like they're not getting much. It's learn, 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 and they're sitting them in these classrooms, and they're expecting them to pay attention and behave. And it's like, how many kids get labeled? This is getting a little philosophical. How many kids get labeled troublemakers because they can't sit still or they're not good students?
Yeah.
They get, and that affects them. They
Mhm.
they carry that with them throughout life. You know
Yeah, I
what I'm
mean, look
saying?
at
Like,
you.
oh, well, I'm just not good at math, or I'm just not. Well, that's true. Look at me. But like, they pack that with them, and that sets the trajectory for what takes place after
Yeah,
school. And
1000%.
Hmm.
anyway, it's
Woo! Wild
pretty crazy.
times,
Yeah.
baby. Wild times.
I'm getting carried away by flies in here. I swear they are going to pick me up and carry
You need
me
to
out
get
the
you a
door in
little
just a
fly
second.
trap. You need to get a trap.
Yeah.
Hang it.
Oh my gosh. I need
It
one of those
works. Those little
guns. I'm
green
going to buy a
bags.
machine gun,
Yeah.
assault
Assault
machine gun.
Pop, pop,
So I
pop,
can
pop,
just...
pop.
Anyways,
There was none in here before we started podcasting too, by the way. Not a
It's
single
'cause
one.
They
They
were
can
they were
sense-
just
they
hiding.
can
They were
sense
waiting
the
until you were
tension.
busy.
yeah, they can sense it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait till he's really worked up and then really piss him off here.
Yeah, really.
Oh man,
Tis the season.
Tis the
Tis the
season. Yep,
season.
summer's popping. I'm just a farmer now. Been getting my hay watered every day. You know,
I'm a little
But-
jealous though. Like, those sunrise stories, like the sun's coming up, you got the mountain view, and you're out walking in the grass. Like I can't. It's not the same here for me.
Yeah.
My situation. Like I can wake up that early and go walk around the neighborhood, but it's like,
Go walk
yeah,
on my-
this is
Yeah.
not as cool.
Yeah, Paul, you can't mow your whole like 200 square feet of grass at 6 a.m. So
well, his neighbor
yeah.
tries and runs over
Yeah.
gas lines. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the one guy takes care of is in charge of mowing the whole.
yeah, you don't
the
even
whole
get
that's
to mow
also
your
kinda
own
nice. You
yard.
also
I don't
mess
even
with
get
it.
to mow it.
Well, you can come here and mow my grass if you want to. I get sick
Yeah.
of mowing that sucker.
I got a game plan. I'm planning on. I want to buy a house by the fall, and then I can have my own yard to mow. And
Boom.
get my what are those Nike shoes called? There's the dad shoes. Get those.
Like are they like some
and-
Adidas? You talking about
No.
like some New Balance?
Velcros or
those-
what?
Velcros?
No, those Nike
I'm thinking
dad
New
shoes.
Balance.
That every your dad had them. Doug's dad had them. My dad had them. Every dad's had them.
I'm pretty sure their dad shoes
The
are
Air
New Balances.
Monarchs.
AirPod Arcs?
No, Air Monarchs.
Air
Are these like
Monarchs.
the
Men's
first
Air
Nike Airs?
Monarchs. Yeah,
We need
they
TV to
might
do
have
his
been. I
job
don't
and pull
know.
up a picture of these things. I need
How do you
a
know that my
picture of
dad
these.
had these?
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know my
Your-
dad.
You don't know me.
Your
You
dad
don't know nothing
definitely
about my dad.
It's like, what the-
That's
They must have come out in like the Jordan era when like all the dads got them. That had to be what it was.
I gotta look.
must be. Must
I'm looking.
be. I'm just a couple years away from some Velcro shoes.
Oh,
I'll
those
tell
are
you
some
that.
dad shoes, bro. Those
Yeah,
are
dude, those are
solid
dad shoes.
shoes.
You know your dad had those. He grilled in them. He mowed the
Oh,
yard in
yeah.
them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
these are it. Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
here we
let's see.
go.
There it is.
Oh, look at
Oh,
those.
yeah.
Yeah, those are
Oh,
way
yeah.
too cool though. That's like hip dad. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, the
unless
high
they had
the
socks.
white socks, the tall white socks. Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, the
Oh,
only
this
thing that
is
would make
good.
that picture better is if they had jorts on. They need to wear jorts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely need
yeah.
jorts.
And
Oh, you
Logan's
guys have got it.
signature mowing shirt,
You're welcome,
the
Nike,
cut off
for the
pearl
plug.
snap.
The cutoff.
Oh, that would be too
yeah,
much.
Those are legit right there. Those are the shoes. This
You
is
haven't
one.
podcasted in the cut off pearl snap in a while.
No, I haven't. I should.
That's
I
because
should
last time he did, he winded up with another kid.
Yeah. I think as much as I would love for that to be true, I think it was actually the opposite. I think she was like, "All right, you're cut off for a week. That is 1 week without. You're sleeping on the couch," and
That's
she
when you get-
hates that
Get your
shit.
vasectomy was
Yeah, yeah,
for that shit. Schedule
yeah. That was
appointment
actually what
now.
happened. Yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah, she hates it when I love that I only have a small gas can for my mower, so I have to go like every week to the gas station and I need to just go get a bigger gas can. But I'll put that mowing shirt on and go to the gas station. She's like, "You're not going to the gas station like that, are
Oh,
you?"
yeah.
I'm like, "Have you seen the people that go to the gas station in
Go to
town?
the gas
Have you
station.
seen the people?"
I'm high
number
class
one,
right now.
I have more teeth than 5 of those people combined. Like, I think we're okay. Like, it's
The other
totally
half look
fine.
like they got
So,
hit by lightning. I'm doing good.
yeah.
I've been a couple
Oh,
of those towns.
man.
That's funny, man. Hui has the best gear because it's tough. It's durable. It withstands the test of what we put it through. And that is why I am a big supporter of Hui brands. Guys, from hats, apparel, whatever you need, they've got you covered. They are the perfect blend of rodeo style and athletic performance. You can check them out at huibrands.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, is going to save you a little bit at checkout. Here's the deal. Lots of rodeo gear companies are coming out, but not all are equal. Beastmaster is really setting the bar when it comes to the equipment that is built for durability and designed for success in the arena. You guys can check them out at beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving24. That's ChampionLiving24. Going to save you a little bit at checkout. Oh, man, let's get into it. Been having lots of conversations with guys about, they don't know it, but training age. And the biggest thing I see with this, and we're going to talk about training age and what this is, don't worry, but what we're talking about is how long you've actually been working out, right? You need to have certain amounts of training experience or age in order to do certain types of exercise or be able to create more intensity. For instance, a 1-rep max back squat. Someone who's been training for 5+ years is going to be able to exhibit a lot more strength and a lot more power than someone who has never done a back squat in their entire life, right? So I have guys, usually these are young guys, reaching out to me about how much should I be lifting during an exercise or anything like that. And my first question is always like, well, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been training? Because that's going to tell us a lot about where you should even be starting. So I wanted to get into today about why assessing your training age is important, why you need to be real with yourself about where you are, because that's what's going to help you set yourself up for the best path of success when it comes to the gym, when it comes to rodeo, when it comes to anything, really. You can't be green and jumped into level 10, right? It usually just does not work well. So let's dive into training age. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it, but we'll start with kind of the how do you assess that? How do you assess your training age?
I think the first thing to think about is like what you were saying in here to kind of intro this was, how long have you been training? But you got to ask one question a little bit deeper is like, how long have you been training consistently? Because you can take a break or whatever, and you don't just advance your training age when you come back. So, I've been lifting weights for, I think I was 14 when I started. So almost 16 years or almost 17 years rather. Yeah. But I think I spent probably 10 of those years as an intermediate. So I was a beginner at the very beginning. I went advance I kind of graduate into this intermediate stage. I'm able to use more weight. I'm able to do different exercises more efficiently. But with time off and gaps or changing up modalities and not sticking to any one thing consistently, you never quite really advance out of intermediate to advanced unless you stick to it. So, I spent a good time of my life as an intermediate, and I would even still say, like right now, there's specific areas that I'm advanced, and there's specific areas where I would still identify myself as an intermediate.
Absolutely. Man, that's so important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think the other part about being real with yourself and being able to determine is not only how long have you been training consistently, but what type of training have you been doing?
Exactly.
Right. So if you're somebody that's, been consistently, doing maybe some CrossFit type stuff, a lot of AMRAPs and EMOMs, and there's not a lot of heavy weight in there necessarily. And now you're going to start, back squatting just because you've been doing that style of training for 4 years. I wouldn't say that your training age for heavy resistance training is 4 years old, right? Like that's going to make a big difference. And so when we're doing consults with clients and we're trying to figure out where we have to find out where are they. And like Doug said, that's always a question I ask. What does your training, if you have been training, what does it currently look like? What do you usually do on what days? How long are you in the gym? What exercises are you doing? Are you familiar with a barbell? All those things, because that is going to determine what we could do moving forward based on where you've been. So understanding and thinking about the type of training you've been doing definitely plays a part in that assessment as well.
Absolutely. And I also see this a lot, and it's older guys, usually about our age, in their 30s, 40s, lifted in high school, talk to them, and they're like, yep, I can do this. I can power clean. I can bench press. I can back squat. Sweet. When's the last time you did that? Senior year of high school. Okay, so we've had equal amount of time between that and where you're at now. We've had 18 years or so. We're not that same person. Like you guys are saying, that consistency is huge. You have to be consistently training in order to gain that experience and age. Just because you did something years ago does not mean you were at that same place. And I think that's probably the most common story in the gym we hear is guys going in there racking 300 on the barbell, trying to bench it or squat it, haven't done it since they were 18, and bam, hurt, and they don't ever work out again. And it's just because they didn't know this little piece that you have to be consistent with it. You have to know your training age, and it can be different throughout your points of your life. Like if I'd say I'm pretty advanced in my training, but if I took a break since my competitive time and didn't work out for 3 years, dude, I would be back to like top end beginner, lower end intermediate style things that I'd be wanting to introduce back into my program, right? I'm not going to go right back into whatever I was doing, the high intensity things. It's got to be a different stimulus because we're in a different place. So it's really important to figure out where you're at on your training age and just kind of put the ego to the side, because no one knows this. It's just you and yourself. You just like, no one else cares, right?
Yep.
You were going to say something, Logan.
No, I was just going to say, sometimes I see it the other way too. And I see guys that have been consistently training and lifting, and they tell me their numbers that they can pull, or, that they're bench pressing. And then I'm like, man, that's impressive. And they send me videos and I'm like, that is terrifying. Well, we just because, so they have maybe a training age of a couple years, but they've been moving with absolute horrendous form. Well, then I got to take a step back in their training age and say, okay, I want you to pull about 250 pounds off of that bar. We're going to go down to 135 pounds, and we're going to do it right for a while, And so they're like, well, this is beneath me. I can do well. Man, we've got to move well. It's not just about moving the way. That's exactly. That's exactly
too easy.
Right.
It's like, okay, here's a tempo. I want you to control this for 2 seconds down, hold it for 1, then explode up, squeeze for 1 at the top, and we're gonna see. Like, I want you to show me as many perfect reps you can. You take all that weight off and put on a small amount of weight, dude. They are wrecked because that time under tension is brutal when you're not used to it, and when you're moving imperfectly, you're just not getting the most out of what you could be doing, right?
Yeah.
I say it all the time. Guys are like, you look big. You must lift heavy weight. Dude, I rarely touch a weight with a dumbbell over 50 pounds. And that's like for deadlift and stuff. I just don't touch heavy weights, and the tempo's allowed me to keep the strength, right? And I was talking about my back squat the other day. I haven't squatted in years, and I'm still right at where I was 5 years ago, but I've trained consistently. I'm still squatting, just not with the barbell. Still building my posterior chain, which is a huge part of your squat. Like, there's so many things that you have to build, and that's what we miss. People think you just love a barbell and your legs do the work on a squat, and it's, dude, your back, everything, your core, it has to be able to support that. And if you're not a professional, why would you think about that? You wouldn't really.
Yeah, your back, your legs are very rarely the weakest link in a back squat. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go in and you could leg press 3 times as much as you can back squat. Well, what does that mean? Well, your legs are plenty strong enough. It's the upper body. And I didn't realize that till I started having a leg press in my training and saw how heavy I could go on a leg press. And I'm like, for 10 or 12 reps, and it was twice my back squat PR. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So the limiting factor here in a back squat is definitely not my legs. It's there's so many other things that go into that.
I think mobility and like the central nervous system adaptations are definitely big factors that you have to think of when trying to self-assess your training age, because just because you have been doing something doesn't mean that we're doing it efficiently, or it doesn't mean that we're doing it to the best of what you are capable of. Yeah.
No, that's so important, man. It really is. And I want to talk about some benchmarks, some things people can look at if they're sitting there saying, well, what is my training age? And the first thing I look at is, man, it's mobility. I love that you said that, Paul, because mobility is the determining factor if you're going to be capable of proper movement through these more complex, movement patterns, like a squat or a clean or something like that. So I would, check your hip mobility, your shoulder mobility. We run through everything in our evaluations. And if you don't know drills like that, like, hit us up. That's what we're here for. We love to set up free consults with you. Go to the website, championlivingfitness.com, athlete sign up form, click that button. It's free to set up a consult. We'll answer your questions and get you a coach that's going to help you out with all these things. But evaluation is key. You've got to know where your mobility is. And then I want to know how you're moving. are you able to do an air squat perfectly? Can you do proper push-ups? How many push-ups can you do with your own body weight? What is your muscle endurance through each one of those things? And then we can start moving on to strength. For rodeo athletes, I'm not so concerned about 1 rep maxes. I do think there are places in training for more experienced athletes for a 1 rep max. 1 rep max is not where I'm going to start with anyone in my beginners or intermediates usually. And that's just because of the pure simple fact that you are not going to be able to express the strength or the intensity that is required to actually use that to benefit you, right? To use that test. So a lot of times we'll do 10 rep max under a tempo or something like that if you're brand new, to a box, even if you've never squatted before. What are some other benchmarks you guys like? A prone plank is a very good one. Like how long can you hold a prone plank or a side plank? These are so basic, dude. And how many times do we go to our camps, clinics? We have guys that have been training and they can't even hold a plank or a side plank for half the passing time. Right? Yep. And our passing times are 90 seconds. You need to be able to hold your own body weight in a perfect plank position, right and left side, and your prone position for 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. How many of you listening right now are questioning if I can do that or if you can do that? It's tougher than you think. And it's just so simple that people skip it. But it's like, it's the foundation. You've got to start that foundation. So if you're someone that can't do the planks for that long, or you don't even know where to begin with a back squat, you're a beginner. You need to start in these beginning phases. You need to learn how to move well.
What would you say, like our percentage of clients like actually pass those tests, like the side plank one or the plank and side planks in 90 seconds? It's probably like what, 20% maybe?
Yeah.
Like of incoming clients.
Yeah.
They can get there pretty quickly with a good program. But when they're first coming in, it's right?
Is the progression that happens. We're going to talk about that in a second. But it kind of helps with your expectations based off of your training age. How you're going to
so like for more of like I want to hit on these because these are the ones that I kind of use is like the strength standards is what I would like call for somebody to be, quote unquote intermediate. So like a 1.5 times your body weight for a back squat, about 1 to 1.2 times your body weight for bench press, and 2 times your body weight for deadlift. That would be like what I would consider you're now intermediate if you're hitting those numbers. And again, you have to factor in like, am I doing this with proper form and mobility?
So one way that I used to, when I was doing a lot of CrossFit training and that kind of strength work, was the 1 rep max back squat. I love that. But I wanted to make sure they could do 5 reps at 85% at a 3-0-1-0 tempo at their max. So what that did for me is I just that showed me how they could move, especially under a heavier load, and that we weren't going too fast in our reaches on their testing and the 1 reps to basically minimize injury for those guys, because that's what we run into that a lot with CrossFit athletes, just overuse and
well, I mean, 1 rep maxes in general are they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Like it's you're adding a level of uncertainty to your training by pushing to your absolute lit, and it's just not appropriate for everybody.
And it can happen to all of us.
Yeah,
it was like 2 weeks ago. We're doing some strength work, and I had a bench press, and it was like maybe 2 reps, 5 sets or 6 sets of 2 reps, and I had like a PR for me on the bar, and I definitely about the 5th set, I was like mid rep, 2nd rep, I was like, cool, this is when it happens. Yep, this is how I die. Cool. I got locked there for a solid 3 seconds, and I'm like, yeah, no, this is, and luckily, thankfully, I was able to get it up and get it re-racked. But there was a solid 4 seconds there where I was like, is that Jesus? Is that you? I think I'm like the light.
It was probably like half a second. It just felt like 4 seconds.
It felt like forever. Yeah, I was like, I overdid it. I knew it. I knew it. So anyway, but you know what I did? I was able to be cool with that last set. Supposed to be 2 reps. I pulled almost half the weight off the bar, and I bumped the reps up a little bit, and I hit a nice solid 5 reps of really controlled movement with a pause at the bottom, and I was smoked. And it was, but I was like, I'm not going to do that again. Right. Like, I'm not going to, I know that's what the program says, but being wise and being able to I think one of the things that's been a common theme today on this podcast is being able to humble yourself and being able to be real with yourself. And like, it's not wise for me, even though that's what the program calls for, to go back at that weight. I'm going to pull the weight off the bar. I don't care. There's nobody in the gym usually when I go in there. So it's not like I'm throwing numbers on so I can show people. Like, you're by yourself. Like, it's only you and the weight. Like, do the right thing. You're going to see much more progress that way.
The numbers, unless that is your measured statistic for your sport or your life, like, unless you're a professional weightlifter, the numbers don't fucking matter. Like, all that matters is that you're creating and building enough strength and power to do the task that you need to at hand.
That's exactly right.
So getting those guys, and it happens a lot. We see rodeo athletes get wrapped up in these numbers all the time. It's like, do you have to power clean the horse? Nope. Okay, cool. Then we're good. We don't have. Then we're good. Yeah, you don't have to do that. You know, you don't have to go load that bar up that heavy and destroy yourself because you're just asking to hurt yourself. And another quick thing before we move on is injuries. If you are running into injuries in the gym consistently, that's probably a good indicator that you need to reassess your training age, because you're probably a little bit in over your head, and maybe you aren't in certain things, but like Paul said, he could be advanced in 2 or 3 movements, and a few others he's an intermediate still. Like, you need to be well-rounded and do all of the things in order for them all to grow together, right? So I just wanted to touch on that too. And then if you're running into injuries in rodeo consistently, frequently in your training, that would point to, I think, probably what you're doing in your program. So if you're creating your own program, this would be a good opportunity, again, to reach out to a coach, a professional, invest in the results that you want to get. Because, again, it's not your job to be a strength and conditioning coach. It's your job to be a professional rodeo athlete. So you got to have that team behind you. Let's talk about how we can utilize knowing your training age in your program. And we've kind of touched on that the whole way here, but what do you think? So if we start customizing, tailoring programs to individuals' training age, what would you say the focus would be for beginners, Paul?
Probably the mobility thing. Like, we need to go back to the basics and lay the foundation. And that's like, so for instance, I'm going to use personal stories because it's the easiest thing to use. So like, I would still consider myself to this day an intermediate deadlifter. Given my strength in different areas, I should probably be able to pull around four upper fours, maybe low 500 pounds, but I can't, because I never have. I've never tried. I've never gotten to that point where like I've tested myself in that space.
Can't is the real C word, Paul.
Yes, that's true. It is. I probably, like I said, I'm just intermediate. I'm an intermediate deadlifter. I only started deadlifting like consistently though maybe three years ago, I think, because I didn't do it before that. And so I had to, when I started and I realized that I had like some flaws, I was like, okay, let's go back to the beginning. How do I build my foundation for the deadlift? And the first biggest thing was mobility. And then the second thing adding in was like a tempo, the slow, controlled, like getting training the actual pattern of doing it correctly, instead of, just trying to yank the bar off the floor, like actually do it with intention. So I think mobility is probably when you identify yourself as a beginner in a certain area, focus on mobility first, make sure you have the adequate mobility, and then start training the pattern. It doesn't matter what the weight is on the bar. Like Doug said before, you can use tempo. That's a way to jump in the express lane and train your pattern faster by using tempo. So focus on the mobility, focus on movement patterns before you ever think about adding weight.
Absolutely. And really quickly, we haven't broken this down yet, and that's my bad. But Logan, I'm going to need your help for the reference part of this. NSCA, so National Strength and Conditioning Association, their training age is less than a year. You are a beginner of consistent training. After a year, you're intermediate, and I think it's 3 years is an advanced. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Yeah. And it's a tough blanket to throw out there because there's so many variables, So
the biggest thing is the consistency.
That's what NSCA says. Yes, that's exactly right.
And
it
OPEX
really
has
is so individual.
Yeah, OPEX is a little different on how they do their numbers, and it was a year was for beginners as well, but it was that 1 to 3 years is intermediate and 3 to 5 years is advanced. So it take them like, and I kind of like that spectrum a little bit more. But the consistency is the biggest thing. So again, we're talking about consistently training. If you've been doing that for less than a year, you're a beginner. Longer than a year to 2 years, 3 years, you're intermediate. 3 years to 5 years, you're advanced or plus, right? So when we're talking about things you should be focusing on, Paul just mentioned anyone who's been training under a year, you need to be really focusing on the proper movement techniques and mobility. And as you continue out throughout that year, you're going to move on to more difficult things. But
and you're going to see plenty of progress in that, right? We're not telling you to like don't lift weight because you're not ready for it, and so now you just have to do a year of prep work. You're going to see
you'll see the
results.
most progress then.
You'll
get more results in your beginner stage than you will in your advanced.
We're going to jump into that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, well, Logan, why don't you walk us through what intermediate training age, what they should be focusing on?
So once we get into that intermediates, we've nailed the movement patterns, and we've established ourselves there. Then we can start really starting to slowly get into adding load. And I think about more structural exercises. Once I'm confident that your squat pattern is good, we've done some goblet squats with a tempo. We probably started in an air squat if you've never really squatted before, and we've progressed through over the course of that year. Then I can start adding in, maybe we start with a back squat, right? And we're certainly not a 1 rep max, but we're going to start to add in some more complex movements. We're going to accumulate some repetitions there. So I'm going to keep the reps pretty high. We might be 10 or 12 reps per set, but it's just so that we can go lightweight, again, with a bit of a tempo. We can learn that movement pattern and what it feels like to have the bar on our back. Same thing for a deadlift or a bench press or those kind of things. Again, we're not really getting to the spot where, and it's never really about the weight. We're just thinking about continuing the progressions in the foundation that Paul was talking about. By now we're adding a little bit more load, and we're starting to get into a little bit more complex movement patterns somewhat. We're not doing it all at once. We're sprinkling that in over a period of time so that we don't just wreck ourselves, and we're going to progress that way, would be the way I would say an intermediate should be training if they've really focused on that beginning stage.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And if you are an advanced athlete, someone who's been training consistently for 3 to 5 years, we're obviously going to be able to tap into some of those more advanced training techniques. Periodization is going to be a huge thing for your success in your training as well, to see progressions. As we're going to talk about this in a second, but as you train longer, the progression is slower, I guess, if you're chasing numbers, if you're chasing weight. So it can get, if you're not being really strict on your periodization and being really strategic about it, you're going to take longer to get to where you want to be on your goals. This is also where plateaus happen usually. It says the longer that we train, we start to run into plateaus. So being able to specialize in certain things that we need to will help you advance through that. Advanced athletes, you're going to be kind of doing all the things, those 8 to 10 rep ranges, hypertrophy, muscle endurance. You're also going to be in the strength, those lower rep ranges as well. But that's because you're able to express those types of things because you've been practicing them for, again, consistently 3 to 5 years. All right, let's jump into managing expectations, setting goals, how you're going to progress as a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And you guys have kind of already hinted at this. Like the beginners, you are going to get better quick. You are going to see gains probably daily or weekly. And we were talking about mastering the mobility and the movement patterns. But that does not mean don't lift weight, right? If you can do an air squat perfect, if you can do a push-up well, if you can do a side lunge well, if you can do a body weight RDL or a waiter's bow well, like your movement patterns are good. Now we can start introducing lighter weights so you can continue to see changes. But you're going to see those weights are going to go up every week, or it's going to happen quickly, and it's addicting. It's like the best part about being a beginner. Newbie gains, like you get strong quick.
Well, you're just learning a skill. So
Yes.
it's just like anything else. When you first start roping and learning how to rope the dummy, you progress really, really quickly. You know, you can you see that with people on the spur board or any of those things. It doesn't take that long for your central nervous system to learn a new skill, and that's where those newbie gains are coming in. You're just because you've gone up 30 pounds on your bench press, you haven't gained that much more muscle. You're not that, but you've gotten access through your central nervous system to more motor units, right? And so now you're really able to progress. Your body's getting really efficient at that movement. And so because it's not wasting energy trying to figure out what you're doing by using muscles that you don't really need, it's nailed it down to this is how we perform that movement. We can recruit all those motor units, boom. And you go up in weight every week, like Doug said. Might not be a bunch every week, but you're going to see changes every week. You're going to see a bunch of PRs, and and we get to work with a lot of those athletes, which is fun within rodeo because so many of them are untrained.
It is fun.
And it's one of the funnest part is getting that text or that message on True Coach of like, man, I hit a PR today, you know, and it's so much fun to see them progress so quickly. But it can become frustrating because you think that it's always going to be.
Yeah, you think that's going to last
if it
forever.
was,
It doesn't.
I would be bench pressing 1,200 pounds.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It does not. It doesn't go that way always.
Yeah. So everybody's got their own individual potential for strength, their own individual potential for muscle mass. Like we have these genetic limiting factors, and the closer you get to that upper end, the slower the progress is. So when you start out at the beginning, you'll gain a lot. As you get closer to your potential, which you'll never actually reach, but the closer you get to your potential, the slower the progress will. You see numbers bump up slower. You see, everything just it doesn't move quite as fast as what it did. But you are much more efficient. You are much stronger, and usually a lot more confident in yourself, just because you are advanced at that stage.
Yeah, you have to be really wise. That's where, like Doug was just talking about, the periodization. That's where the wisdom of periodization really comes into play, is changing things up, right? Not every week, but we're taking some time off. Maybe we're taking a deload week and we're playing with different rep ranges, right? And we're not always working near our 1 rep max.
Well,
we're not always
can't.
working near, a 90% of our, we're playing around with some of that, and that's where like the wisdom of periodization and having a strength and conditioning coach can really take shape and help you to see results. And I've got a guy that is a hoss. He's been with me since March 1st, and ex-military saddle bronc rider. He's one of the only clients I've ever had who can move really well and lift more weight than me on almost every lift. He is an absolute beast, and he had been plateaued on his squat and his bench press he's in his mid 30s. He'd been plateaued on his squat and his bench press for 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years. He hired a coach, and March 1st. So March, April, we're into May. Just last week, he told me that he smashed his PR that he's been on in 10 weeks, because it was different, right? We were using smart periodization to help him bust through that. And so progression is going to come much slower, but that periodization accelerates the process.
Yeah. And with periodization comes rest. Like there are lower intensities programmed into that. And the older you get in your training age, the more important it is that you're paying attention to. Like Logan was saying, those 90% and plus, dude, if you've been training for a while, you're able to exhibit a lot of intensity and a lot of strength there. It takes a lot of toll on the body when you do that. And so if you don't have a coach or aren't a professional at this, you probably think I would gravitate towards, I'm going to go lift 90+% all the time until I break through that number. And it just doesn't work, because there's a lot of things that you need to account for, including the rest time, letting your body have a break, knowing that you can't push your body like that every day. You can't lift 90+% day in and day out over and over and over. It just won't work. You will get injured. You will plateau. It's just how it is. And I saw that in CrossFit all the time, dude, because that's one of those sports, again, people just go full dipshit and think that the more I do, the further it's going to get me. And it's just not the truth. It's just not the truth. there's a lot of strategy to this, and there's a lot of things that go into it, building strength and building power and conditioning. So again, if you're not a professional, it's not your job to be. Hire one. So easy. So easy.
But it's hard to see when you're in it yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Is.
Like, even for me, I know all the things. And I just had this conversation with Doug, like maybe even last week, about my training and what it's looked like. And I've been going through a lot of strength work, and I've been lifting like really heavy 3 days a week, like, pretty consistently, and for the last 2-3 months, and I've seen a lot of progress. But my body is starting to tell the tale. Like, my elbow, I haven't had troubles out of my elbow since I stopped riding bucking horses, and the old elbow was getting pretty sore, and my shoulder that I hurt when I was rodeoing a while ago was starting to get a little sore, and I was starting to tell the tale. And so, but for me, it gets so addicting to get in there and see the numbers going up, and you really enjoy that, lifting heavy or doing those things, doing more. So I can totally understand if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that's me. Hey, me too. Sometimes it takes another coach to be able to be like, hey, don't you think maybe you should do a little bit of this? Well, I don't really want to do some of that, but you're right. And this week I backed everything off. It's been 2 sets of everything, 10 to 12 reps. And it was super lightweight, and I've just been focusing on range of motion, and I've just been focusing on nice, slow and controlled, going through full ranges of motion. And I'm excited about next week's training and going back in and
I was gonna say, I bet your numbers go way up.
Yeah, I bet my numbers will go up next week, and because my body feels so much better. My elbow doesn't hurt, my hips aren't hurting. Like, I just feel good. But it had been 2 solid months of pushing the envelope, and so I say all of that to say it can happen to anybody. Just because I know better, it's still pretty addicting to get in and go heavy, be a bro sometimes, so we're all
Big
the
Friday.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Oh, that's true, man. It happens to everybody, and super easy to get caught up in, especially if you are newer at training. Like, it's fun. It's addicting. You just want to keep pushing.
Yeah, that's what I've only been consistently lifting. I might be kind of getting at, like Paul, advanced in some of my things. I've been consistently lifting weights with a barbell for about 4 years. But so I've never gone through, like, Doug has had the stage of CrossFit where he was lifting outrageous numbers. He was in outrageous shape. He's been there, done that, got the t-shirt and some of the soreness that comes with it. And he doesn't need to go back there. He's found another way that he really likes.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
You got to go bearskin.
Yeah, you got to go bearskin. And I haven't. And so I'm like finding my limits, and it's been fun. It's been a fun process, but with that comes really having to lean on periodization and taking breaks and being strategic.
Yeah. And if you're running into plateaus or feel like you're overtraining or running into a lot of injuries, it'd be a really good option. Look at your periodization, see what you've been doing. Are you adjusting your intensity percentages throughout the days, weeks, months? Because if not, you definitely should be. And I think the last part of this is, it takes a long time, guys. This isn't you will get better quick, but this is a lifelong journey. And so kind of embracing that aspect of, this isn't something I do for 6 months. This isn't something I just do for a year and I'm there and it's all better. Like, this is something you do every day, all like for the rest of your life. And not every day. There's rest days, obviously, but keep exploring new techniques. Start looking into new things, changing up your training every now and then from the stimuluses that you do is great. It keeps it fun. It keeps it refreshing. Like, we don't just do the same kind of workouts all year round. I'm probably every 12 weeks, 15 weeks at the most, I'm changing up what I'm doing. And like all winter, I've been working on strength, power, lifting a barbell, lots of different training I've never done before from other coaches, which has been a lot of fun. And now we're into springtime and I'm like rucking and hunting a ton, but like, that's a workout. That's a huge workout, but it's a totally different thing. I've been doing aerobic stuff all winter, and all of a sudden my HRV jumped 20 points last night. And so I'm like kind of addicted to that feeling, like, dude, how aerobically fit could I get this and still maintain my muscle and do it? And not on top of that, the aerobic stuff, I'm not just going for a run. I'm getting out and I'm doing something I love. So it's like a hobby, but I'm also getting fitness out of it. And I think that's why fitness is so badass. Like, that's the whole point of this thing. Yeah, for rodeo and to be a world champ, but what about after that? Like, don't you want to have a life after and do things after? Like Logan's talking about his elbow, his shoulder, his hip. Like, there are a lot of things in life that happen during rodeo that can really affect your quality of life after, if you don't continue to strengthen it and take care of yourself. And it'll happen fast. You'll be crippled as shit before you know it. And I don't think anyone wants to not be able to do the things they love in life after rodeo. So, rodeo or not, fitness is important, and you can really make it whatever you want, which is the cool thing. You don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't have to go look like a endurance runner. You can do whatever you want. You could mix it all up. It doesn't matter. But the biggest thing is you start where you are. Be real with what your training age is currently. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. What consistently have you been doing up until now? Start there, and you will be so much happier as you go on, because you're going to see the results will continue quickly. If we skip steps, just like in anything, we're going to be taking a step back at some point in time. So might as well just do the basics now, get the right foundation so you can keep growing. Taking steps back sucks, but something that we do all too often, usually just because of excitement. You guys got anything else to wrap that up?
No, I think you summarized it.
Oh yeah,
perfectly.
Have you guys gotten a chance? Have you messed around with the Rodeo Now app yet?
Yeah, I downloaded it. It like when they first came out. It would have been like maybe 2022 or something like that, maybe, and played around on it. And it is, I mean, I've been recommending it to clients and stuff, cool. And I love it. I love that they have like an explore page almost, you could call it. It's almost like a Facebook feed, but it's just of like what people have uploaded. And so you can like just check out like random people's rides and stuff or runs. And it's like it's a Facebook news feed, but with nothing of rodeo. And it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun to get on there and be nosy, if you will, and just
if you're gonna doom scroll on rodeo now. Don't do it on Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
You might actually learn something. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm excited. Next episode, we're gonna have the Rodeo Now app crew on. Courtney Moorhead will be with us. She has been in rodeo her whole life, so we're excited to have her on and hear about why this app came to be and how they, what their vision is for it. How is this gonna? And I think it is gonna change rodeo. It's one of those tools that can. Man, we're in a cool age, this technology age, right? And I was just even thinking about this. We were talking about it hunting the other day, like our dads or grandpas, they would like shun us for using some of this technology. Like there's binoculars now that you can stabilize. You flip a switch and it takes all the vibration from your hands out of it, and it's just like you're on a tripod. And my buddy Lane looks at me. He goes, "I think my grandpa would roll around in his grave if he saw me using one of those." But the guys, that old rodeo guys, are probably like, "You can look up your." No, just go get on. You just go and get on the thing. It's like, what do you mean you look them up? And it's awesome. It's changing the game because the game is changing and evolving. Mm-hmm. It fires me up. I love stuff like this because it's like what we're about, man. We just want to help the cowboys and cowgirls have more resources and be able to do their jobs better. So Rodeo Now app, check it out. Go download it. It's free. Apple App Store, Google Play Store. You'll be happy you did. And next episode we will have them live right here. Find out all the information. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later. Y'all, if you're having trouble sleeping or you've got really achy muscles, Power Pro CBD has teamed up with us to bring you their tinctures and their warming lotions. Guys, these have been a crucial part of my nightly routine. Y'all can check them out at PowerPro, PWRpro.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, to save you a good chunk at discount.